Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Vanessa Rankin, and I'm a civil celebrant. I'd like to welcome you all here today to this special service to celebrate the life of a loved and a respected woman, Isabel Eva Forster. I'd also like to welcome the people in the hall who are joining us via live streaming, and I'd also like to welcome Isabel's friends and family joining us via live streaming. So our love and thoughts are with them all today. We gather here to celebrate Isabel's life and to extend our deepest sympathy to all who mourn her death. We especially express our sincere sympathy to her family. We think of her late husband, Arthur. Our hearts go out to her family, Greg and Heather, Stephen and Diane, Michelle and Gary, and Kristen and Robert. Isabel was a loving grandmother to Sarah, Ryan, Emily, Jody, Nathan, Ellen, Stacey, Tane, Melissa, Tom, Shani, Kelsey, Tegan, Christopher, Danica, Brittany, Colby, Jace and Kyle. And she was also a devoted great-grandmother to 22 adored great-grandchildren. Our thoughts are also with Isabel's brothers and sisters, Gwen, deceased, Wilma, David, John, and sister-in-law Norma and Judy and their families. So I would now like to invite four grandchildren to come forward as they represent their families to light 4 candles. These candles are the light of love. We light them in memory and honour for courage and comfort. May the glow of the flame be our source of your love for Isabel now and forever. So would those 4 grandchildren come forward, please? Thank you, and you might be able to use those candles at other celebrations to light in memory of a very special person. Just before we proceed, could I just remind everybody to please turn off their mobile phones or put them on silent. So today we are here to celebrate the life of a lovely, gracious lady who has been lost to us. I ask that you feel at one with your sorrow, your sadness and your memories. But I also ask you to feel the gladness, the happiness, the purpose and the serenity of a life so well lived. Losing a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother is hard to express. A mother holds her children's hands for a while, but holds their hearts forever. Isabel had a deep love for her family and countless friends, and the following words are a tribute to her unconditional love. To be truly loved by someone is rare and something that is never lost. It is a love that can't be described. If love is one thing that can be passed down from generation to generation, then Isabel, you have done your job. For the love that was in Isabel's heart is now in ours, and we can never forget that. Isabel has lived the cycle of her life, 85 years, leaving her loved ones with the sadness to contend with and their happy memories to look back upon. We can find comfort knowing that Isabel will now be reunited with her beloved husband, Arthur. They shared a wonderful marriage and enjoyed their life together. I hope that you can derive some comfort from this as you remember Isabel and the wonderful memories you have of her, some of which you hold in common, but others are very personal to each of you. We know that your attendance here today is a measure of the love that you had for Isabel. Today you recall the experiences and the relationship you shared with Isabel. As we celebrate her life, you can take satisfaction that Isabel was and still is a part of your lives. Her influence endures and will continue in the love that flows from her character and deeds. Our lives are richer for being part of Isabel's life. Isabel was the matriarch of her family, and I'm told she kept all the family in line. She has left some wonderful memories, but mostly of the person she was, a true and loyal friend who was always there for her family and friends without question. A person who brought smiles, laughter and love to your lives. A very special person and an inspiration to you all. Isabel had an exuberant enjoyment of life, a magnificent spirit that will always be with you. She was a capable person. She could turn a hand to anything. She excelled at everything she did. Isabel was very sporty, very sociable, very generous to her family. She had a positive attitude and she had a happy soul. But her main focus was the enjoyment and dedication as a caring, loving mother, grandmother and great-grandmother. So I'd now like to invite Isabel's son Greg to come forward and deliver her eulogy, please.
I'm just doing the reading that was named Miss Me But Let Me Go. When I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want no rights in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul set free? Miss me a little, but not for long, and not with your head bowed low. Remember the love that we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is a journey that we all must take and each must go alone. It's all part of the Master's plan, a step on the road to home. When you are lonely and sick of heart, go to the friends we know and bury your sorrows in doing good deeds. Miss me, but let me go. Thank you.
Isabel Eva Forster was born on the 15th of December 1936 in the Currumborough Hospital. She was the second child of Wellwood and May Patterson. She has 4 other siblings, Gwen, Wilma, David and John. Mum lived at Moyarra, Gippsland, on a dairy farm until about the age of 5. She then moved to another dairy farm at Poowong, again in Gippsland, where she began attending Poowong Primary School. The family then decided to move to a dairy farm at Oxley, near Wangaratta. Mum had fond memories of riding a horse as one of her modes of transport to the Oxley Primary School. It wasn't long before they were on the move again. They left the Oxley farm and the family moved to the suburb of Yeronga, in Brisbane, where she attended the Yeronga Primary School. After primary school, she began attending the Central Practicing School as her high school in Brisbane. It wasn't too long before they were on the move again. This time it was to a dairy farm in Nyora, where Mum finished her schooling at Cobram High School. Mum's childhood was a very happy one, having supportive parents and enjoying many fun times with her siblings. After high school, she got a telephonist job at the Nyora post office. At Nyora, she met Arthur Forster and started dating him. The Forster family left Nyora and moved to Dandenong. Mum also moved to Dandenong and lived with her sister Gwen and her husband Jeff so she could be close to Arthur. In 1958, she married Arthur at the Lock Presbyterian Church. They purchased a house in Grace Avenue, Dandenong, living there for about 5 years with Mum working as a ledger supervisor for the ANZ Bank. The Patterson family then moved from Nyora to a large dairy farm at Cobram. Mum's father subdivided a section of this farm, giving a block of 30 acres to each of his 3 daughters. Mum and Dad took up this offer of land and moved from Dandenong to Cobram. Mum and Dad built a house on the block and spent many years on this farm on Cottons Road, developing a small citrus orchard and beef cattle farm whilst raising their 4 children, Greg, Stephen, Michelle and Kristen. A part of this time at Cottons Road involved the purchase of a pet shop in Cobram. Mum enjoyed working in the shop and developed a very successful business, and the shop was sold in the year 2000 when Dad retired. After Dad's retirement, the farm was sold and they moved into their final house, which was in Irene Street, Cobram. Mum was quite a sporty person. She was a gun badminton player and competed for years, winning many competitions. She also enjoyed playing tennis and later in life lawn bowls until dodgy knees forced her to stop. Mum enjoyed these sports along with Dad, and they often played as a doubles team. Mum also loved watching football, tennis and cricket. She regularly entered football tipping competitions, and this year, along with Kristen, won. She was quite pleased with this result. Mum and Dad purchased a couple of ponies for the family soon after moving onto the Cottons Road property, and this developed into a major interest. We soon joined the Cobram Pony Club. Mum supported us for many years, making sure that we regularly attended Pony Club, and she spent countless weekends taking us to gymkhanas, shows and one-day events coming rain, hail or shine, never complaining about the sacrifice of her own time. She was a tough taskmaster and we had to make sure our boots had a glistening shine, our saddlery was clean and well oiled, and the horses were washed and groomed. Mum was not afraid to get involved in the running of the Pony Club. She was elected as treasurer and spent many years in this role. She was highly regarded for her work as treasurer and played a pivotal role in the success of the club. Mum was awarded a life membership of the Pony Club as recognition for her hard work. Another venture Mum became involved in was Tupperware. Now, Mum always threw herself into whatever she did. Tupperware was no exception. Fairly quickly, Tupperware began to take over a couple of rooms in the house, and Mum began organising her parties and sales. Sunday night was the night when all the orders were packed. She would place Tupperware all around the lounge room, and Dad would call out the orders. Mum would then pack the customer orders, and often Michelle and Kristen were also dragged into this endeavour, moaning and groaning at the tedium of the task. She was very successful and quickly graduated to consultant manager with her own team. In fact, she became one of the top salespersons Australia-wide for several years and was given a car to use, as well as winning many awards that were presented during Tupperware annual conferences. Whilst we were growing up, our annual holiday was to Lakes Entrance at a holiday bungalow owned by her mum and dad. Many happy family memories were created during these times. The first time that Michelle's husband Gary went to Lakes Entrance with the family, he could not keep up with Mum as she drove over Mount Hotham. Mum was well known for having a bit of a lead foot. Mum, along with Dad, were completely unselfish when raising their children. Their focus was on us. They didn't do much for themselves. Then the switch was flipped. We had all flown the coop, and close behind were Mum and Dad. Mum was the driving force behind their decision to purchase a motorhome. She wanted a motorhome, but had to convince Dad. For a couple of years, she cut out motorhome pictures and stuck them on the fridge for Dad to see. And eventually she wore him down. They purchased a motorhome and they got into travel big time. Pride of place was a mid-sized motorhome with the name Does Us. They joined the Murray Borderliners Motorhome Club and took off on dozens of adventures with them. We knew they were having a lot of fun, and going through Mum's photos confirmed that. Not only the usual scenic snaps, but also a lot of dress-ups and skits, some of which raised our eyebrows a little bit, not the fairly conservative parents we observed as children. In Does Us, Mum and Dad have travelled around pretty much all of Australia. They have also travelled by motorhome in Canada and holidayed in Bali, New Zealand and Fiji. They also went on and enjoyed quite a few cruises. Mum ensured that when every great-grandchild was born, they received a teddy knitted by her, and that's a lot of knitting. She was also extremely vigilant with birthdays, and a card with $20 would arrive for her children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren without fail. She was very well known for her pavlovas, lemon meringue pies and the big pot of veggie soup that many people would have tasted. Well before Christmas, Mum would start buying the favourites box chocolates, and for years they have gone to our families. I'm surprised that the supermarket had any left by Christmas. Mum loved playing cards, and she was very hard to beat. To keep her mind active, she would do puzzles and often, along with Wilma, managed to complete all the activities in the That's Life puzzle magazine, which was then submitted to win various prizes. In recent years, Mum enjoyed spending Easter with family at her brother John and wife Judy's farm on the Midder River, sitting around the fire and chatting to everyone. A memory she was fond of telling us was when, during a recent camp, she was keen to get down to the river so she could join in the fun. The bank down to the river was quite steep, and Mum's knees were pretty dodgy. Her sister Wilma said jokingly, "You'll never get down that bank." Challenge accepted. And with the help of Sophie and Kathy, she struggled her way down, plonked herself in a chair in the river with an umbrella over the top, ready to join in the fun. This is an example of her determination and can-do attitude. Over the past 10 years, Mum has been a member of the Boozy Creek Quilters. This started an interest that she enjoyed, especially as it was an activity she could share with Michelle. Originally, she wanted to make a quilt for the bed of their motorhome, which she achieved under the watchful eye of Michelle. And then she started making quilts for her home. She loved seeing what the other quilters were working on and always contributed to the many spirited conversations that occurred. When it was her turn to provide morning tea, she would always supply several treats for the ladies that were homemade and always enjoyed by all. For the last 3 years, she has travelled to Harrietville with her good friend Eunice and stayed the week at a quilting retreat run by Faye at Into Quilting. This is something that she thoroughly enjoyed, and she participated in all the activities and shenanigans that occurred. She was always quite particular about the detail in her many quilts and was ably assisted by Michelle to achieve her high standards. At the moment, she has quite a large quilt at home on her design wall, which Michelle will now have to finish for her. During the past few years, Mum has participated in a planned activity group which travels by bus to various venues. She always looked forward to their weekly excursions, getting to visit places all around the region. I had to laugh after her first excursion when I asked her how it went. She replied, "I think it's okay, but the bus is full of old people." I just looked at her. Mum has always been involved in our family occasions, and we'd be quite upset if she missed any. She would turn up with her chair, pavlova, soft drinks, plonk herself down, ready to be a part of the party. She would usually stay to the end because she hated missing out. Michelle remembers a time when she was working on her embroidery for a patchwork quilt while they were away on one of their trips. She was sitting on the bank of a river when the wind picked up and blew all her patchwork squares into the river. She immediately jumped up and started yelling at Dad to jump into the river and rescue them, which he dutifully did. Mum was quite a tough lady. During the past years, she suffered various medical issues, but none of them stopped her from doing the things she wanted to do. She took up driving again after Dad passed away, and she continued to live in her own house, fiercely guarding her independence. Along with Wilma, she managed to go on a couple of road trips to Brisbane, successfully completing the trips, even though I did hear one story of them passing the wrong way through a roundabout in a town and coming nose to nose with a police car. They received a fairly long police lecture for that one before he let them continue the journey. When we reflect on Mum's life, we realise just how much she achieved and experienced. She was a great lady who we loved very much and who instilled in us a sense of honesty, integrity, and the importance of family. She was a mother who loved and respected us and was always interested in our lives. She encouraged us in our endeavours and was always there to offer support. She will be sorely missed, but a legacy lives on through her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. She will now go to Dad, and I'm sure he is waiting for that first call of, "Arthur!" Thank you.
Thank you, Greg, for those wonderful stories and memories. They're all very treasured. And thanks, Kristen, for your poem as well. So could I now call upon Isabel's granddaughter, Jodie, to come forward, please, and share some more stories.
For those of you that don't know us, we are Stacey and Jodie. We are two of Isabel's many grandchildren, and on behalf of all of her grandchildren and great-grandchildren, we just want to share a few of our memories and remember what we loved about our Nana.
Firstly, on behalf of the Forster family, we would like to thank you all for coming today to share in our sorrow, but also to share in our joy as we celebrate Nana's wonderful life. There is no doubt that we are the luckiest 19 grandchildren and 22 great-grandchildren who got a chance to share our life with an amazing person like our Nana.
When we were thinking about what to write for this eulogy, it was hard. It was hard to know what to include without us standing up here talking about Nana all day. Because let's face it, Nana was the bond that tied us all together. She was like an incredible matriarch, the regal leader in our family.
Nana was the loving presence in all our lives that really shapes the people we become. Our parents give us life, but our grandparents give us a sense of who we are, where we came from, and teach us about our history. Nana influenced us all greatly, and it was incredible to have her as an integral part of our lives. We are so lucky to have had Nana for the 85 years she was on this earth. She brought so much beauty and love to our lives.
Our Nana was a decisive and determined person. She never judged, but instead tried to gently guide us in the right direction. She always seemed like she knew everyone in Cobram, and everyone knew and loved her. No one ever had a bad word to say about her. She was the kind of person who just had more and more love in her heart for the more people who joined our lives in our family. She may not have approved of everything we did, but the love she felt for us was unconditional.
For us too personally, growing up, Nana and Grandpa were like our second parents. Maybe the fact that they lived next door and we could literally climb a couple of fences without touching the electric fence, and we would be at their place, helped to create that closeness. Both Nana and Grandpa dedicated so much of their time, money and effort into giving us the opportunity to ride horses and compete. We were privileged to have their support and encouragement to pursue our abilities and develop our love for horses. We cannot tell you enough how much we appreciate everything they've both done for us. Sometimes Nana's support and encouragement was intense. There was a window at the side of their house where they could see us on the horses in the dressage ring. We all got used to the custom sliding open of the window and then Nana's voice shrieking at us to get our heels down or get that horse's head tucked in or do that again, it wasn't good enough. Of course, we knew it was all out of love and her wanting us to do our best.
Spending holidays together in Lake's Entrance was another childhood memory we personally will never forget. Every year without fail, Nana would take us to Lake Entrance over the Christmas holidays to spend time together. We had so much fun and created so many precious memories on those trips. As a family, we would also spend Christmas days together. I remember one Christmas we were at Michelle's for a Christmas celebration. I decided to put on Nana's bra. It was extremely obvious that I had not taken after Nana being blessed with big boobs, so the bra was much less than full. But Nana found it hilarious, and even though I was drunk, I still remember it to this day because Nana was happy and laughing so much.
As we got a bit older and started our own families, Nana and Grandpa purchased a touring bus. They spent a lot of time venturing around Australia. It was so great to see them get time to themselves, but the amazing feeling we felt when we seen their bus return or seen them at our front door after they had been away for months is hard to explain. Knowing that they were safe and home to be there for us and part of our lives was the most amazing feeling in the world.
Nana is so much a part of who we are, and even though we knew she would one day leave us, we can't quite believe she is gone. She was always present and part of our lives in such a tangible way for so long. We had a wonderful Nana, and that is the way it will always be. But take heed, because she is still keeping an eye on all of us. So let's make sure she will like what she sees as she watches from up above.
We will miss you every day of our lives, Nana.
Thank you, Jodie and Stacey. Wonderful stories. It's obvious you had a great relationship with your grandmother. How special. So I'd now like to call upon Isabel's granddaughters, Brittany and Danica, to come forward, please, and share some of their stories.
When we were asked to write this speech to honour Nana, we had multiple things that reminded us of her. The pet shop they owned in town, the creepy monkey that lived in their spare bedroom, and the pikelets Nana would always make for us when they were conned into babysitting. But I think the thing that was iconically Nana and Grandpa was the motorhome they travelled around all around Australia in. Even now I see similar motorhomes on the road and I automatically think of them. Each year they would go off on a great adventure, seeing Australia with their friends, then coming back to tell us all about it. Nana would come back and tell us the most hilarious stories and show us the gems that her and Grandpa admired or the pictures they'd taken. Then they would highlight the roads they went on the huge map of Australia, and every time we went to their house, we would look at all the new places they've been to. Their travels have always been an inspiration for us to travel Australia.
When we think back on when we were children and we would stay at Nana and Grandpa's on the farm, the things that have stuck in our mind is Nana and Grandpa laying back on those brown sofa chairs watching the cricket. And was the cricket important? I don't think I ever watched a kids show there. But while they had the cricket on, Nana would bring out this box of toys, and there was this one toy of a doll treehouse that Britt and I were obsessed with. But what really made us love going to Nana's and Grandpa's was every morning she would make the best pikelet pancake things ever, and we would sit there in that little kitchen table she had with those green cups, eating the pikelet pancakes with butter and jam on top of them. That was one of our strongest memories of staying over. That and that scary-ass monkey that they had in one of the bedrooms. You guys know the one I'm talking about. Freaked us all out as kids. I swear I used to have nightmares about it. I believe she still has it in her house now. Horses and Pony Club were a huge part of Nana's life, and her involvement in Pony Club has been a big impact on my love of horses. If it wasn't for her involvement in horses, I don't think I would have the love and drive for horses as I do now. I remember going to competitions on our ponies, and Nana and Grandpa would tag along with their trusty seat in tow, penciling at jump judges, walking the cross country with us and telling us to get back on when we fell off. Even while she was in hospital, she wanted to know how our comps went, and she loved watching videos and seeing pictures. I loved that she got to see Brittany win on my horse before she passed. If anyone knew Nana, they knew she did not shy away from technology. When she got a new Samsung Smart TV, we set her up with her own Netflix profile, showed her how to put her phone on hotspot and how to connect it to the TV. She had this little notepad where she would write all the steps down just in case she forgot. While she was in hospital, I got a phone call from her asking how to turn on a hotspot again because she didn't have her notepad, just so she could download books and watch Netflix on her tablet. And the best part is she followed all my instructions perfectly and managed to connect all her devices. I absolutely loved that about her.
So, Nana, we wish we could have seen you in the months leading up to your passing. We wanted one final chance to talk about the ponies, our jobs, and what we're up to in life. You were always so supportive in everything we did and somehow managed to keep track of your 10,000 grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Christmas won't be the same without you there, but I hope you and Grandpa are watching down on us all and he's bringing you cups of tea in bed again. We'll all miss you.
Thanks, Brittany and Danica. Again, what a great relationship you had with your grandmother. So listening to all those stories and fun times of Isabel's life reminds us that memories are the greatest possession that we now have. Lovely memories of a character of a woman who was loved and admired by you all. With the passing of Isabel, a page of history has closed. So it is time to turn back some of those pages of her book. And with much love and pride, we shall acknowledge Isabel's life's journey through photos captured by the family. And whilst viewing this slideshow, please recall the happy times you have spent with her, as well as your own personal relationship that you have shared with her.
stairway and memories a lane. We'd walk right up to heaven and bring you back again. It broke our hearts to lose you, but you did not go alone. For part of us went with you the day God called you home. God looked around his garden and he found an empty place. Then he looked down upon the earth and he saw your precious face. He put his arms around you and he lifted you to rest. God's garden must be beautiful. He always takes the best. Yes, he always takes the best. The eyes and he whispered, peace be thine. Then he took you up to heaven, so gentle and so kind. God looked around his garden and he found an empty place. Then he looked down upon the earth and he saw your precious face. He put his arms around you and he lifted you to rest. God's garden must be beautiful. He always takes the best. Oh, God's garden must be beautiful. He always takes the best.
So I'd now like to call upon Isabel's daughter Michelle to come forward and read a poem, please. Michelle.
Mum picked out these poems before, so we thought it was our duty to include them, so they must have spoke to her in some way. This one's called My Mother's Garden. My mother kept a garden of the heart. She planted all the good things that gave my life its start. She turned me to the sunshine and encouraged me to dream, fostering and nurturing the seeds of self-esteem. And when the winds and rain came, she protected me enough, but not too much because she knew I'd need to stand up strong and tough. Her constant good example always taught me right from wrong, markers for my pathway that will last a lifetime long. I am my mother's garden, we are her legacy, and I hope today she feels the love reflected back from me.
Thank you, Michelle. So we now come to the closing words and the final farewell. We have been remembering with affection and gratitude the life of Isabel, recalling what a loving, happy, compassionate and good person that she has been. Isabel will live on in your hearts and thoughts, and we are fortunate and privileged to have had her in our lives, and she will always be part of your family and circle of friends. Isabel, your life was a blessing, your memory a treasure. You are loved beyond words and missed beyond measure. With love, we leave you in peace, with respect, we bid you farewell. Isabel, may you rest in peace. So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's service. On behalf of Isabel's family, I thank you all for coming here today and sharing in this celebration of Isabel's life. Following this service, you are invited to the burial at the Cobram Cemetery, and afterwards the family invite you all to join them at the Cobram Bowling Club, Cobram in William Street, to share refreshments and your memories of Isabel. So would the coffin bearers please come forward? And would you all please stand? Thank you.
Every night in my dreams, I see you, I feel you. That is how I know you go on. Far across the distance and spaces between us, you have come to show you go on. Near, far, wherever you are, I believe that the heart does go on. Once more, you open the door, and you're here in my heart, and my heart will go on and on. Love can touch us one time and last for a lifetime, and never let go till